Hey everybody, what is going on? I am Maximus Rex, and this is Big Baby Reviews. Once again, joined by our friend, your friend, my friend, Mark Darden. And today we're taking a deep dive into CyberForce Volume 1. And I just wanted to mention, I think today is also a good hair day for both myself and Mark.
Hey,
Looking good, dude.
nice. So it's important.
Yeah, I got to be camera ready.
Yeah. All right.
So I guess we'll start by saying we're kind of like at the final founding father that actually gets a book published, right? We talked a little bit about
Yeah.
how next video we're going to focus on Wetworks, even though it's not something that actually we'll say, it came out eventually, but not in this time, right? When it was first kind of advertised.
Yeah,
Um,
about a year and a half late.
yeah, yeah, which today doesn't seem like much, but back then was an eternity, right?
Forever. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So we're going to be taking a look, I guess, at officially kind of the final founding father of Image with Mark Silvestri on Cyberforce. And just real quick, what I liked about Cyberforce, it was, again, pretty familiar to kind of the X-Men concept, right? They even have, I think they call them mutants in here.
Yes.
And so these are basically the one difference is they're like cybernetically enhanced mutants. So a team full of cables, kind of.
Yeah, I thought maybe Mark Silvestri drawing off of X-Men, they had the enemy where there was the Hellfire Club and there were all their guards who got messed up by Wolverine. And so then there was this group called the Reavers, where it was the torn up guards who were then rebuilt with cybernetics. So then they had their own team of doing crimes, but also hunting Wolverine and the X-Men. So I kind of feel like he took that and just made them the good guys.
You're right. I saw those Reavers and those Uncanny X-Men issues, and now that you say it, it makes total sense where kind of the germ of the idea maybe came from, for sure. Yeah, it's quite similar actually. Now that yeah, absolutely. And also following I guess was established by the X-Men, but every super team has, the claw guy, the big strong guy. I guess what's his name? The guy in the middle, I forget.
Striker,
Striker, there you go,
three
is
guns.
kind
Yeah.
is the gun guy to the
Yeah.
degree with like his four arms.
Well, yeah, and you got Heat Wave who flies and has energy blast, and then Psyblade who's very much your Psylocke, although the current version of Katana from DC Comics looks a lot like her because of
Okay.
the mask and
Yes. Yeah,
their
you're right.
style, very similar. So I wonder if there's a character that came from, if there wasn't a previous martial arts character that existed that had that look, because that hair and helmet is very similar between those two characters. So where was the original inspiration?
Also, this, more so than Rob Liefeld, is maybe what gave way to the whole. Well, Rob Liefeld and the Image guys don't like to draw feet because I always thought this cover was kind of funny, where Ribclaw's ankles just kind of shrink into oblivion, both of them,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
and
There's right. There's not just a hill, but there's definitely an obstruction in front of his foot, and yeah, everybody else's feet are hidden behind somebody except for Cyblade. She's the only person whose feet can be seen.
out of one, two, three, five characters, just
Five.
just I would say even 2.5 feet, right? One's kind of still kind of covered up by that gun in the
Yeah.
foot. Um, but I mean, pretty cool kind of establishing shot of the team. I think as opposed to when we talked about Wildcats and Jim Lee, where we thought the cover was kind of posy, I guess is how we describe it. People posing for a picture, where this
Yeah.
seems more kind of like an action shot and, something's going on. And I think it's also due to the artist, Mark Silvestri himself, just still at this time. This is again, my sweet spot for Mark Silvestri is him working on, Wolverine and the early Cyberforce. It's just, there's still much more movement and kinetic energy to his art that once he kind of starts aping a little bit of the Jim Lee style, I feel like it gets a little more posy and static, where he always, even from early on Uncanny X-Men, had that kind of electricity and dynamism in his figures and the movement of the characters that we're going to see a lot of in this first issue as well. Um, just real quick, because we talked about it also in the Wildcats episode a few weeks ago. So I found those kind of board things I was telling you about. So early Image advertisement, that one pinup that we said would have made a better
Oh
cover.
yeah. Yeah.
And this image I was talking about of being like I think this was published in Wizard, a lot smaller.
Uh-huh.
maybe possibly just like on not black and white, but on that
Oh
yellow
yeah,
kind of, yeah.
yeah,
And like this, I think is one of, if not the earliest shot of Cyberforce, and it's got even more, I find, of that Wolverine gritty style. And there's like slight differences with Rip. Is it Rip
yeah.
Claw's claws here are drawn quite differently. They almost kind of look
Oh, your voice is cutting out when you lean too far forward.
like. All right, how about now?
Oh, there we go. Yeah, gotcha now.
Yeah, just little differences where like when you see his knuckles here, it almost looks like diamonds.
Yeah.
Kind of the same design. And Impact had just much shorter hair.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Useless details, but there's just again something just even more that I enjoy about this early, Cyberforce Wolverine period of Mark Silvestri. Just
yeah.
great.
And Ballistic's on the team. Oh, can you put that back up for a second?
Absolutely, yeah.
Ballistic's on the team, and oh, and there's Stryker. Okay, I do see him there. Yeah,
And you're right, yeah, because obviously, when I the fact that you mentioned that, I remember when I first read the first issue of Cyberforce back in the day, I was surprised to find that Ballistic wasn't part of the team, as that's what I'd seen in like the advertisements and stuff,
yeah.
all the promo art. All right. Anything else about the cover?
I think we mentioned we both love the wraparound. It's a way better cover when you see the full thing. Because the back part of it is such a key detail with the enemies, and there's a couple more characters and the guys in the armor that are the pursuers. It's a way superior cover if you see the full thing than just the front alone. And it was the only one of the six that did a wraparound.
I agree. It's a great illustration, but I still feel the kind of like I still just remember this, right? Because that obviously is still the impact shot of the whole thing, right? But I do agree,
Yeah.
it just sets the scene really well. Like it's almost the first panel in a way, setting the scene for what's going to happen next. All right, let's crack her open.
Yeah.
One little detail that we're not going to get from the PDF.
Oh.
Well, actually, two little details.
Yeah.
Real quick, I love mentioning the credits page.
Yeah.
Almost feels like now this one's kind of similar to what Jim
With
Valentino had.
Wildcats. Very
Yeah, and
plain.
like there seems to be maybe Malibu's helping out a little bit and just kind of streamlining it so it's similar from title to title, even though you still get your official Cyberforce or Shadowhawk lettering, but there seems to be like a standardized version at this point of some sort of credits page,
Hmm.
and the other one being that other uh, coveted ticket for Image Comics number 0 appearing in Cyberforce number 1.
Yeah. Yeah, which we talked about last week.
Yeah. Did we talk? I don't think we talked about like.
Oh, is
Did
that
you?
offline? Okay, yeah, because it's interesting that there were originally supposed to be seven titles launched, and the seventh one would have been Wetworks, but then possibly because of its delays, Brigade, Rob's second book, gets added in as the seventh coupon.
That's it. It was one of the secondary extreme titles. Not sure if
Yeah,
it's Brigade or something.
right.
Uh, and we did mention that. What I wanted to ask you about is the actual Image Comics 0. Have you ever ended up like actually owning it or reading it?
Yeah, I had it at one time. Um,
So wouldn't you agree that like your expectation of it, let's say at this point when you're collecting, you're picking up Cyberforce number 1, and you're just like, oh man, I'm sure just like I was, this Image Comics 0 is going to be amazing. And
yeah,
versus
the
what actually came out
the Savage Dragon portion of it was good.
is exactly what I would have expected and
Yeah.
is great, is awesome for sure, for
It
sure.
was an important detail when you read Savage Dragon number 1, the main series. If you didn't get Image Zero, then you're kind of walking into a story that's already started because you don't know about the thing that happened with his love interest across the hall.
That's right.
But I don't remember any of the other parts being memorable.
All I remember is, other than the Savage Dragon bit, was the Todd McFarlane portion was just a bunch of pinups. I think like 4 pinups of just characters he created.
Mm.
One of all of those that may have done something like a toy, but all the other characters kind of designs that sucked. To be honest, they weren't that memorable.
You got to cut 7 coupons out of 7 comic books and send it away with money in order to get.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't listen, being Canadian back then, I think I've talked about this, and even today, shipping stuff and getting stuff from the US is just so expensive. So I don't think I would have even considered it with the exchange rate and stuff. I
Yeah.
would have had to, with my mentality back then, I would have had to buy two issues of each, right? To have one pristine with the coupon and the other
Yeah.
one that I actually cut the coupon out of. So that was just too much pocket money back then.
Yeah, it's and plus the actual price of the book that covers the shipping, you're out 8 comic books worth of money to do that.
Exactly. Absolutely. Yeah, for a really horrible comic.
Yeah, disappointment.
Check it out
All
in the
right.
archives, guys. I did a review on it like years, at least a year ago. It's out
Oh,
there. Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Put up an
I,
old video.
yeah, yeah. I got to self promote. Um, so what I wanted to mention real quick before we move on to the actual comic is this image was not included in the actual comic, and this is taken from later stage kind of Mark Silvestri Cyberforce when I think it was like the ongoing series, and
Mhm.
that's where I feel you can really see the difference as opposed to the art we're going to see in this first issue, where he's really, to me, doing a little bit more of that Jim Lee thing, and things just aren't quite as dynamic as they are when Silvestri's drawing in more of his natural style.
This I will say I agree with what you're saying, but compared to his X-Men style, that was so vastly different than this. Because I think I missed out on his Wolverine stuff. So correct me if I'm wrong, was the Wolverine stuff similar to this? Because the X-Men stuff I was used to seeing was so much rougher and was did not look like Jim Lee stuff at all. It was extremely different.
No, that's what I appreciate about Wolverine is you've got Dan Green inking him,
Okay.
but it feels like he's being pretty faithful. Listen, there's some run there's a run of issues in summer there where he's doing 2 issues a month, right? So the art's very kind of, I wouldn't say rushed, but a little bit rougher. But that's what brings in that movement, that those dynamics that I love. And definitely
Yeah.
the Wolverine run definitely resembles the Uncanny X-Men run much more than the
Okay.
Cyberforce stuff. Like I said, like this early Cyberforce stuff that we're going to look at, I think still looks really cool. It's starting to look a little bit imagey. He's got on the cover, he's got Scott Williams inking, but on the inside, he's inking himself for this first issue. So I
Mhm.
feel that also helps the art still retain a lot of that Mark Silvestri dynamism and movement, right? Like I said, that's lacking in this later style that we're seeing on this spread here. To me, this just looks like another guy trying to do Jim Lee, doing it well, but
Yeah.
it's not the Mark Silvestri that I love. So
Yeah.
thankfully, that's not what we're going to get in this issue.
All right.
And there we go, first page.
Yeah. And this one opens, this reminds me quite a bit of that, what I mentioned about Wildcats, where there was that big shot of Imp in his face, and it just didn't give me anything. And this one is similar in that. I kind of wonder if the story originally was in a different order and then they switched it out because just opening on this facial shot, I get almost nothing from it. But the next panel, I know something's going on. I see a person running down an alley, they're in a panic. So what's the first picture for?
Listen, I as opposed to the Emp one that I thought was very underwhelming and really wasn't useful. That was a full splash. Here, you've got a really big shot of her face, but what I appreciate is kind of the I guess what his goal was, I feel, as the artist, is to get the emotion across of, and I
Mhm.
like this clever graphic thing where it's raining, but she's also crying.
Uh-huh.
And, just to bring you in quickly and give you some sort of emotional resonance with the character. And when you check out the second panel, you right away, you're like, hey, what's going on with the first one? And the second one, you're like, without seeing who's chasing her, she's being chased, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
If she's crying about it as well, it's got to be something pretty bad. And also, because of what we're going to see on the next page, right?
Mhm.
That's, I'll just say it, that kind of crossover bit with the
Yeah.
issue of Wildcats, where Mark Silvestri and Jim Lee drawn these pages, like, in a hotel maybe for some convention on the weekend, and they were just kind of having fun and doing similar kind of storytelling, and doing this
Well,
crossover bit.
at the time, Mark Silvestri would be in the studio because he'd be part of Homage Studio at the time. So Jim Lee, Scott Williams, Willis Patachio, and Mark Silvestri all in the studio together.
So even when Jim Lee was on X-Men, they were all already in that studio. Is that
I think it happened. I don't recall exactly when it happened. But I think they were in the same location at the time.
okay?
So they
because
might have very much been like seeing each other's work as they go, and it.
yeah, like I feel like they might have just met up for some reason, had each of them had to be working on some pages, and maybe that's where they devised this little crossover bit, which clearly they would have had to communicate and talk about to get it done. And again, maybe that's why there's a similar kind of storytelling to it than that M sequence, right? Um, so there's something else I wanted to mention about that. Anyways, it'll come back to me. Let's move on. Oh, yes, this is what so let's not forget that also Mark Silvestri still did a bunch, like I don't know exactly how he did it, but there's some Wolverine issues still coming out while Cyberforce issue number one is coming out. Another guy who's like that, I think, is I'd have to check, but I feel like Jim Valentino, there's still a couple of issues of like Guardians of the Galaxy that he had completed that came out in and around the time that Shadowhawk number one comes out.
Hmm.
Mark Silvestri, I know for sure. But here it is, the famous Jim Lee Mark Silvestri Emp crossover. There he is.
Yeah, it's a fun little detail of having him just happen to be in the alleyway.
I like the sequence here with the fence, the character running towards the foreground, same shot, and then all of a sudden these guys just busting through in a very kind of cartoony way, just exploding the fence out. I think it's cool graphically, gets the point across, and looks really good. See this sort of like silhouette work and hatching that Mark Silvestri's doing here. It's what reminds me of that uncanny X-Men Wolverine stuff. And as we mentioned, the introduction of Ballistic, who we assumed would be on the team at some point.
Absolutely, the early art would definitely lead you to believe that she was a part of it, and then they decided to break her off. And her relationship with her sister reminds me a bit of them doing, of maybe it being similar to Cyclops and Havoc from
Sure.
X-Men, particularly in the Extinction Agenda, where Havoc had been, I don't remember exactly how he was influenced or brainwashed, but he was part of Genosha hunting mutants.
Yes. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like again, it's we can start to, really nitpick and look at stuff that they did right before the image explosion. We can really pinpoint those moments of like that makes a lot of sense. Like the Reavers that you mentioned earlier, just like now, you kind of blew my mind with that. Me thinking about it again. It's so obvious, I guess, at this point. Cool,
Oh,
moody image shot here.
mhm.
Wasn't sure what quite to expect here. There's just something weird in the art where I just felt this first shot of Ribclaw when you saw him here is slightly inconsistent with his look overall in the advertisement and stuff. I know because he's throwing a lot of heavy shadow and stuff on there and make him
Yeah.
look mysterious. But that's about the only complaint I'd have here. Later on, once we do see his face kind of in the full light and stuff, it's what we expect. I guess he's trying to give him a moody kind of introduction, almost like the Crow or something, slightly gothic. Definitely
Yeah,
get those vibes here.
yeah, and he's got him as this guardian who's overwatching. He's seeing this whole scene. How to get here ahead of time, we don't really know. He's just there. He doesn't mention that the spirits led him or anything. But it's kind of it's cool. You know, just it's cool. She's racing down the alley, and here he is overhead, seeing it way overhead.
He's really high up.
Yeah,
And that's so he can make a dramatic jump, right?
absolutely, and fantastic double page spread. It's definitely one of the biggest. Um, oh, double page splash. Actually, this would be the splash.
100%. Yeah, there's nothing else going on but Splash.
Yeah. And there's really next to there's no dialogue. It's just telling you his name. But yeah, really cool shot. Um, which leads into a bit of a beef. Uh, because they really have like, here's the cool shot setting up for the fight, and then like, okay, but you know what? Let's put that on pause.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, yeah, it does. It continues. The actual fallout from this Splash continues later on where the story's intercut. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, just wanted to mention this funky lightning kind of device up here behind Ribclaw that I just think is funny and interesting because I don't think I've ever seen it quite look like that in an early 90s comic. There's something about the coloring in this
Oh,
issue. Again, like a lot of the early image issues where they're not yet going overboard with kind of the computer effects and stuff. And I find this one works really well here. It's kind of fun and kooky. It's slightly cartoony, but I like it. And the moody lighting on the buildings back here, I think, is just very discreet and subdued as opposed to how it'll get later on with Image. And I do think this is Joe Chiodo. Let me check.
yep.
It is, right? So I've mentioned in reviews before with books that he's colored. He's really big on blue and orange, and you're going to get a lot of blue and orange in CyberForce #1. So here's where the story gets intercut.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we have this setup to an action scene, and then we cut away. We'll get back to that later. Let's let's cut back to the base. But yeah, and we're just getting introduced to Timmy, and I forget the name of the older brother. He never really stood out to me. And then Heatwave is there, and they're all working on a ship, which is, Wildcats. They were prepping a ship too. It's a lot of prepping ships.
They have high budgets, these secret
Yeah.
super teams. Yeah.
Right. And then while they're prepping the ship, they are getting the message from Ripclaw about, hey, if there's all these bad guys coming after this target, and like, oh, okay, we're on our way. But like, when is he saying this? Like, is he on
Well,
the call like, hey, so I'm coming into the battle, but I need a little help if you guys could get,
well,
there's
that's why he was perched so high up, is so he'd have lots of fall time to, get his whole spiel out, right? It's calculated. It's like that issue of Youngblood where Shaft is like jumping off a building. Same exact thing. Like I think it's Youngblood issue 8 or
Mhm.
6. When he came back after a while, right? He'd kind of gone and come back. That issue is hilarious because Shaft has like 2 panels worth of dialogue while he's falling off a building and shooting off arrows.
Oh yeah.
A lot
Because
of
he
fun.
could have he could have finished this page with that communication,
Or at
had
least started on it, right? Like, yeah,
yeah, had him talking there, and then when they're sitting here, they're like, "Oh, a message came in from Ripclaw, like it's a recording."
exactly. Listen,
Small.
I want to talk about just the layout of this panel here in the middle because I think it's great. Where you've got the 2 elements in the foreground, Timmy and his little
Uh-huh.
radio controlled truck,
Oh
just
yeah.
overlapping the panel. Just a small little detail, but that helps give it more depth. And the fact that his head is overlapping the panel above as well. All these little, I find Mark Silvestri just a little more subtle about it, and it just works better, kind of, because it doesn't interrupt the read flow or the reading direction too much. And just this establishing shot to me to have the character, the toy he's playing with, the super perspective ship here, which looks great. And oftentimes the idea is when you crop stuff out, it's less to draw, and I think everything's kind of cropped well and contrasting, with a foreground character with a deep shadow. Just masterful drawing and economy of drawing as well, where he's not going overboard. And this, technological background looks great. You even get the little bit of the silhouette and smoke from the guys working on top of the ship. Just a beautifully composed image.
Mhm.
And the extra just added a little detail of I can like literally see this truck moving. You know what I mean? The way it's drawn, it's not stiff. It's that Mark Silvestri
Uh-huh.
dynamism, dynamics that even with the little radio controlled truck, he makes it look like it's moving.
Yeah, it is leaned over like it's in turn. So I see what you're saying there. And the
Not
guys.
sure, not sure Jim Lee could pull that off. That's the kind of stuff I kind of differentiate those two guys with.
Uh-huh. Yeah, no, that's glad you pointed all those out. It's good appreciation. I did think the panel below it. Oh, oh,
Yeah, no, go ahead.
yeah, the green screen. I wondered if all those lines was velocities running because I thought that is a detail. If this was them trying to catch her and there's just lines of her going all over the
Mhm.
place,
Yeah.
it helps establish her speed power and how long she's been escaping, if that's what that is.
I mean, if you interpreted it that way, it makes sense. It seems to be like a city map, right, that they're looking at.
Yeah. And then there's a red overlay, which I just kind of took as like, oh, is that her running? Just like around and around and then spread out and
Yeah.
went this way. And
Yeah, I mean, I don't see what else it could be. That is a nice little detail.
uh there was another funny acronym that I've got cops in pursuit of a mutant runner, And then it has cops, cybernetic operatives for protection and security.
Well, was it there was already a cartoon though, called Cops, right? That it was an acronym as well. Cybernetically something something similar to
Oh,
that. You remember
oh,
that cartoon?
I don't know.
No, eh? They were cybernetically enhanced cops in the future, and
Okay.
Bart Sears actually did a lot of the designs of the characters.
Huh.
Fun fact, if you're into Bart Sears.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I liked Bart Sears a lot. I was a big fan of his artwork. He was on some Exo Man War, some Turok. He was always doing the drawings for Wizard of how to draw anatomy.
Fruits and Babes, yeah, I love that stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. The Violator stuff, unfortunately, he didn't get to do the third issue, but man, do I love that Violator miniseries. It's an unsung gem. It's kind of
Uh,
crazy and insane, but it's the one Alan Moore wrote, right?
yeah. Yep.
All right, so Nightcrawler shows up all of a sudden. That was kind of my feeling when I read this as a kid, right?
Very much. Yeah.
Yeah. And who is this guy? He's running for mayor, some sort of political office, right?
Yep. He is running for mayor and Stryker's there to protect him. They gave him the name Bluestone. So yeah, Stryker's just on guard duty as this as he's political candidate is talking at one of those high-priced dinners or whatnot. Maybe he's at a theater. And I mean, it's kind of a lot in a single issue where it's like if you read X-Men, it's just like, oh yeah, that thing's happening that I'm used to, and that thing, like, oh yeah, mutants are in trouble and they're trying to get rights and they got to be protected because people are always attacking them. But it feels a little unearned or a little shoehorned in.
It it kind of gives me the feeling that if you haven't read, X-Men comics before reading Cyberforce, then it might kind of you might be off and like what's going on here. But because they probably know this at this, or they figured it out or it's subconscious that, we were probably reading X-Men before we bought Cyberforce, most of us, right? And they just take it that we know that kind of concept and we're familiar with it. So they're not really going into that much detail, at least in this first issue, about the whole thing. Like, I don't remember how long this whole idea of mutants in the Cyberforce world, maybe just for the first miniseries, was it a thing? Do you know what I mean? I don't remember it being part really of the ongoing series that much or that obvious or prevalent, It just seems
Yeah.
like they went right into a storyline with Wildcats, right? That crossover.
Yeah, that was their next big thing when he came back is yeah, the Wildcats crossover and then the Image crossover month where they did each other's books happen. So kind of waylaid Mark Silvestri's story a bit.
Yeah. I mean, Cyberforce started to, trail off, I guess, at that point, right? And he had to streamline the whole organization, come up with a new character that hopefully would catch on. He actually did with the Darkness, right?
Oh yeah, because he worked on Cyberforce for 20 issues. So he actually stayed on a decent amount of time. But yeah, the Darkness was a big hit, and then Witchblade was the even bigger hit.
Witchblade was the one, yeah, that came out before Darkness. I'm pretty sure, right? That's where he got.
No, Darkness and then Witchblade.
Oh, it wasn't that order, eh? Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, those seem to have worked out better for him. That was, still kind of playing on that symbiote kind of Venom idea, but I think like visually they were kind of differentiate him the both characters from the kind of Wildstorm Jim Lee kind of stuff that Cyberforce maybe is a little bit more similar.
Yeah, Darkness was controlling demons. And then the Witchblade was, well, a witchcraft blade. But
Yeah, but that idea of the costume form fitting around them, right? Spawn obviously had that. Like it's,
yeah, Witchblade had some of that, absolutely.
even the Marvel movies kind of eventually with Iron Man, it almost seemed like that's what was happening with his tech when it was coming on.
Yeah, the nanotech. Yeah,
So, well, listen, let's get back to Cyberforce.
absolutely.
So I again appreciate the look of the art here, just because again it's that period, that sweet spot before the Jim Lee influence is too strong. Look at how rough, what he's doing here with the silhouette of Stryker. Yet it works perfectly. I think it looks great. It's nice and moody. And I really appreciate the silhouette here that, almost to me, this one panel here is like an old school 80s Marvel panel. It doesn't feel like an image book when I look at this panel here for some reason.
Yeah,
Like
that distance shot's good. The silhouetted shooter. You've got the spotlight on the speaker,
the work put into it, like the storytelling that's actually happening in one panel is really good.
and you've got a picture of their face behind them, so that helps. But yeah,
And it's blue.
yeah, you can see plenty of crowd members.
That is blue, right?
Oh, that little bit of color there.
Blue Stone, what's his name?
Yeah, Bluestone.
So coloring wise, here's like, like I said, that whole blue and orange thing going on for CyberForce, which is gonna get a little crazier as the miniseries progresses. But in this first issue, again, I think looks really good and does differentiate it from the other books just color wise,
Yeah,
Great shot.
that's a fun shot. I remember as a kid, just the idea of somebody having three arms on one side was just awesome looking.
Yeah,
He
I
was,
mean, Stryker definitely has a not to make a pun, but a striking design for sure. Like it is interesting.
yeah, I think him and Ripclaw were his two visual standouts on the team and the most interesting members.
Yeah, definitely visually memorable. And these are the shots. Like this to me is like such a Mark Silvestri shot. This guy here, getting shot by Stryker, the
Mhm.
movement of it, the roughness and stuff. Like just the building of the anatomy and the position that he's in. Love it. This guy running down here too. It's
Yeah.
that rough kind of animated thing that really works. That slowly but surely he's going to get slicker and he's losing it a little bit.
Yeah, the colored motion lines, the dark red against that dark purple, where they're not super noticeable, but they definitely still like subconsciously project the movement, I think work very well.
And drawing guns and some, even though these are like high tech guns and
Mhm.
hands holding guns, not
Yeah.
easy. You know, I like Rob Liefeld, but that's sometimes an area that he has some issues with in his art, right? Where the hands holding the gun and the angle of the gun. None of
Uh,
that with Mark Silvestri. These are, although they're cybernetic, pretty darn anatomically accurate hands, and the angle holding the gun and stuff, just really masterful. It's something that's really, honestly, hard to draw. So kudos to that. Next page.
yeah.
So
Oh,
just not going to spend a lot of time on this. This is
yeah.
usually an ad in the book. So they've replaced it with this splash page that was clearly done a lot later. I don't even know if it actually is Mark Silvestri who drew this. I could almost believe it's a Mark Silvestri clone, one of the guys working in the studio. It
Yeah.
doesn't look 100% Mark Silvestri to me. And it almost looks like the angle here of the hands shooting the gun is almost ripped off from the previous illustration. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Absolutely. It's so similar.
I would have preferred just a black page.
Yeah.
But now we're back into it.
Yeah. I feel like the human guys with guns are just really they're overwhelmed. They didn't bring enough to deal with any of this.
Yeah, well, cybernetically enhanced mutants. That just means stronger mutants, I guess, is more extreme mutants. And
Yeah.
as you said earlier, mentioned the reference to Psylocke, right? The more extreme version of Psylocke is basically what we have here.
Right. I mean, she's kind of the one of the funniest looking ones because of having this cybernetic mesh of a body, but it's like, is this actually cyborg body or just a covering? Because her shoulders are still bare and human, which would be the
Sure.
a part I still have in a way. And then over this cybernetic mesh or whatever it is that's covering her, she still has like a bikini and some straps on.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty male-oriented design for sure. Again, where does the cybernetics start and end? Is it armor? Who knows? And again, whether it's cybernetics or not, if her legs have become cybernetics, probably after some horrible accident, you would think she wouldn't be so willing to bare her naked shoulder. which, if you're going to start wearing armor and cybernetics, well, how about you cover it all? Kind of doesn't make much sense, but it's the
Oh,
90s, man. It's got to look cool. Storytelling wise, I just want to throw in then again 2 panels. This one's a
mhm,
really hard angle to draw a set of stairs and a door opening. Just like
mhm.
again, just a hard angle to draw something at that I think he does pretty well here. And I like down here again. This to me is there's a Wolverine story he does where he's in a zoo and he's facing this kind of crazy zookeeper, and he's got a similar look to this, but again, this period of Mark Silvestri where he's willing to exaggerate and do a bit of cartooning, I just love. Just great art.
It was a cool mod, having a Psylocke-like character, but like, oh no, she doesn't just have the psychic blade that she can use at close range. She's throwing this psychic energy in a way, if it's psychic energy. Um,
Whatever kind of energy it is, yeah, she's
yeah,
one upping Psylocke,
right.
and the fact that she can now throw these projectile power daggers or whatever you want to call them.
Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is maybe he's a great storyteller, but this to me feels a little bit like an image page, right? Just a big shot of the character's face, and still a few panels for storytelling. So I'm not gonna, shit on him for it.
Yeah, and then we get this very cartoonish action shot of you can kind of picture if there was like the Juggernaut and Colossus running at each other and smash, but instead it's a bigger Colossus and he's just going at a van. It's an awesome action shot to have him coming out the other side, although I feel like this would be more appropriate. But he just smashes through this van, but it's hilariously cartoonish that they just show the guy like, oh, jump out the side when no chance. He just obliterated. Just everybody involved would be obliterated with how he destroys this van.
Well, it's, an elephant or a rhinoceros or something running towards a truck, right? So, but I like how the sequence is drawn. Like you said, there's a bit of cartooniness to it, but I mean, it totally works, and you totally understand, you know, the what's going on, even though how over the top it is. It's still well drawn.
Oh yeah.
And I like the little line in the first panel where he's like, looks like a truck with legs. That actually, like, I think that's a funny line. I just like it. No one's gonna, claim that Mark Silvestri and his brother, I think, who's helping write this, right? Eric Silvestri
Yeah.
are the best writers or anything, but that little line I kind of liked.
Yeah. It's coming right at us. Like they don't see that it's a giant dude.
Well, I mean, the size of them at first, you would wonder.
Yeah. It's gonna another guy who was gonna pull a gun. We've already had the thugs. It's just the thugs that keep popping up that like, oh, let's go get them. Let's get the guy on the street that's in a costume. It happens in Pitt where the gang goes after him. It's like, why would
Well,
you
yeah,
not get out of there?
the guy's 7'5", right? Like, why would you mess with a guy like that?
Yeah, this guy just smashed your truck, and they're like, that's okay. I still got a piss. Well,
Yeah,
okay, I'm gonna say something about it. Never mind.
lot of guns being pulled in this issue by guys who, it's not going to help them in any way.
Oh yeah, though it goes right from that guy pulling a gun to Velocity getting a gun on her. It would be they've shown her running a good bit, but if they'd had an opening where she's like, 3 hours on the run, 6 hours or whatever, she's just been going and going, it would drive the point home even more. Um, but yeah,
Yeah, I guess because in the actual art in this issue, we haven't actually seen her run that much. You're right. So
we definitely didn't see a superpower run. We see that she's running and running, but not super speed running.
yeah, there's no visual indication of her running any faster than a normal person would. Yeah.
Hmm.
One little detail that's kind of weird, but I like just these little drips of water falling on him.
Oh,
It just somehow, it's like water falling on the top of a building or something. It almost like heightens the fact of how big and how huge he is.
uh-huh.
But he does, like, doesn't he say dude or something? Like, he just feels the hair is very kind of California. At least 1992 California.
Yeah, that hairdo as a kid, I was like, what is going on here with this hair?
Yeah, why is this huge cybernetic dude getting his hair done like in a perm?
Oh, and then we get finally to the action we've been wanting for a while. Um, although I think that dramatically, I think that this shot here of Ripclaw showing up behind them ruins really the attack that we see on the next page. I wish it just went right to that because we do get this message in the balloon where they say that there's a figure coming your way. So it'd be great if we saw them, they've got the drop on her, and then, oh, what's that? There's something coming our way. And then you turn the page and just boom, he crashes into him exactly how he does, but without this prior shot. I think dramatically it would have more impact.
Yeah, absolutely. Not that it's a bad drawing or anything, but I get what
No.
you're saying. Just storytelling wise, there's still little things that could have been fixed in this first issue to make things flow a little bit better for sure. And that's, I definitely think, like, let's look at that next page so everyone knows what we're talking about. But almost like if you took this guy here communicating with that little bit of dialogue and just blew him up and had like
Uh-huh.
a big, maybe
Oh
even
yeah, 'cause then you just get that he if he's just looking over his shoulder, but you don't get yet see what's coming.
exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
which is maximum impact from Ripclaw.
Yeah. Which is a fun shot. And also if you look at the direction he's falling, that lines up perfectly with the shot from before, the two-page spread where he leapt from the building.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, it just the way it's done now, it's like he jumped off the building,
Hmm.
landed at some point, confronted them, and then jumped and
And then
attacked,
jumped
right?
again. Yeah.
But this, if this was the first shot we saw after that double page spread, we would just assume that he was falling all that time, talking to the guys at the base, and now finally we are getting the result of that giant leap off the top of the building.
Yeah. But it's definitely a cool action shot. Jumps right into him. He plunges claws through into one guy's chest, grabs another guy's face while another guy's just standing there stunned. The only thing from this, and then you've got him slashing. He's very Wolverine. I mean, this is so Wolverine because he slashes and then he's got the guy up, above him with the slash. I do wish the page finished out with action because we get three cool action panels. I wish the other two just kept the
Kept it
slashing going.
going. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
Just a full two-page spread of action payoff after we had to wait to get back to this.
I listen. I was going to mention the Wolverine thing 100% as well because again,
Oh,
concurrently
voice
with
cut
this,
out again.
what's that? Oh, my voice cut
Voice
out.
cut out. Yeah.
So I was going to say that you can hear me now. You got me?
Still faded.
Really? Eh?
Yeah, now you're right back.
Okay. That's weird that all of a sudden it would do that, but all right, we'll figure it out, folks. Yeah. So the Wolverine men influence I was going to mention as well because again, I think concurrently with this issue, he's drawn some Wolverine still, and he's been drawing Wolverine for 30 odd issues at this point. So, guys cutting and slashing is coming pretty easy to Mark Silvestri. One small
Yeah.
weird detail though is in this shot, it seems like his claws are just much larger all of a sudden.
Oh,
So
yeah, because his claws grow. That was supposed to be his powers that he doesn't just have claws, they do extend.
they, oh, okay. So basically, the Warblade and Ribclaw are the same guy,
They're very similar.
almost.
Yes, one of
Yeah,
them has Native American religion.
roots.
Yeah, and the other one's an alien. But yeah, they do both have extending blades. Um, they explore Warblade a lot more when Alan Moore gets there and starts doing more body shifting overall.
I'm sure Alan Moore found an interesting way to play around with that made it more
Mhm.
interesting than it was already.
Yeah.
He's got a knack for that.
But in the
Um,
beginning, just extending blades. But that is kind of a fun play of like his claws are just coming all the way up through this guy and extending multiple feet beyond.
are these claw guys just metaphors for puberty? You know, long extending appendages, like
Busted out of stuff.
yeah, busting through things. Like it's there's something going on there. All right, and we'll move on after that comment. I always like these shots. I've been reviewing a lot of Savage Dragon. Eric Larson does it a lot, where you kind of on a page introduce a character on a
Mhm.
whole lot of negative space. You
Mm.
don't have a background or anything, and it just kind of singles them out, makes you stop a little longer. And Mark Silvestri's kind of doing the same thing here with the added extra bonus of these minions, cybernetic minions behind, kind of running behind ballistic here, which is nice and cool and adds that extra little bit of
Yeah.
layering to the image. And the coloring, again, because it's still early, it's not too over the top, works really well. Just a little lighter back here to separate the foreground and the background. Just a nice, cool shot, and it's got an overlap, which I always like.
And for comic creating purposes, putting text as a background really big like they do here really works great in some shots because the blam blam is in the back. It's very impactful, but also the fact that it's a very different color makes it pop against these darker panels. It's a technique I like a lot, and it really works effectively in this panel.
Yeah, when used properly in a good storytelling sense, right? It makes complete sense in this panel here, the shots of the gun. And
Mhm.
that saves you from doing a complicated background or just leaving it wide open. It's a little bit of a it's got a Walt Simonson kind of vibe to it. He was really awesome with all the sound effects in his series and using them as part of the art.
And it's good visual storytelling because you see them leaping for the ladder, you see her shoot, you see the ladder get hit, you see them fall and hit the ground.
And again, I'll commend the coloring for just kind of monochroming the background here, very light subdued color as
Uh-huh.
opposed to our more saturated colors here. Works really well. Great coloring overall, I think, in this issue.
Yeah. And then that support arrives that he called for earlier, just in the nick of time.
Yeah, the Blackbird, or
Yeah.
sorry, the Cyber Wing.
Right. The not Blackbird, Blackbird. The
Do they have a name for it? Cyberforce have
in the X-Men it was the Blackbird.
Yes, but do the Cyberforce
Oh
have a name
yeah.
for it?
I'm not I don't recall.
I'm gonna go with what I said earlier, the Cyber Wing.
Yeah. But yeah, the borrowed jet from the X-Men, maybe they bought it secondhand off them. It was one of their used.
They've got their latest model, so yeah, they can sell
Yeah.
the backlog they have.
Yeah.
The
But a
the ship
flying ship arrives and then a flying character flies out of
out
it
of the
to shoot them.
it's a little bit of overkill. And I was gonna
Yeah.
say, like, it's kind of unfortunate because Mark Silvestri is a great artist, but I find even as a kid, I kind of felt like, unfortunately, it kind of looks like he's being projected forward by like a huge fart, some flatulence.
Oh,
You know what I
I
mean?
see how you're, yeah, I see how you're getting that. And with the placement of the lettering,
It's
if
yeah,
this was Savage Dragon, that's definitely what would have happened.
but then that would have, yeah, with one of his body horror characters, which
Yes.
I totally love. I love all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it is kind of funny because this character could have just flown in on his own, come blasting, and maybe the ship followed behind him, like he got there first and provided cover fire, and then the ship comes in to pick up the people.
And
Again,
he's flying away from the ship, like in a
yeah,
completely opposite and vertical direction. So, like, logic
yes.
wise, it's a little odd. It's a little
He
odd.
flies out away from the ship, but then blasts back towards the enemy, back where the ship is. Yeah. But hey,
I've, I've been noticing too. I got to mention it because I've seen it on a few pages now. I feel like Silvestri is another guy who didn't do a full bleed kind of thing on the
oh,
first issue because
yeah.
a lot of the panels get cut off. Like, I don't know if maybe this is because of the scan or something, but real quick, if I go back to, there was one specific, yeah, right here where you can see it, where he's got Ripclaw popping out of the panel, but see on the side here where the bit of forearm pops out, but then he's got that straight
Yeah.
jutting line coming
On
down there.
on mine, it does reach the edge of the page.
Oh, it does
It
in the
does.
comic. Oh, I should have a look at that. Yeah, you're right.
But you are correct. He didn't do a lot of the full bleed. You do see it on that
But I
fight scene.
do, yeah, even with the foot, he's got some going on here. Okay, so
Yeah, the
I'll take
fight
that
scene
back.
does extend the panels all the way to the edge,
So it's
but he's definitely using it a lot less.
this damn PDF leading me down the wrong path. All right, so after that exchange, so we get a hint at the ballistic velocity connection here, right?
Yeah. Yep, is the sisters share a moment, but we don't know they're sisters yet. And the enemy now being bombarded by one guy shooting at them and a ship having arrived to rescue. Despite their seemingly superior numbers with multiple squadrons all flee.
And this is my favorite panel of the whole page down here. The
Oh,
character in the foreground,
uh-huh.
the midground with ballistic and her butt shot looks great. And
Yeah.
just the amount of clear, concise detail that he's throwing into that background layer, so
Yeah.
small, little silhouettes, the ship, the lighting, like it's all
Mhm.
clear and easily read by the eye. Like that
Yeah.
really impresses me in such a, fairly small panel. I mean, listen, it could be argued that it's in a panel like this, like one.
No, yeah, it's absolutely a great panel. I agree with you. There's at least three layers going on there.
It's just impressive the amount of detail and clarity that he gets, right? He's
Mhm.
he's just top notch art on this.
And then we get kind of a Osmondeus character, or Osminius, the Watchman.
Ozymandias,
Ozymandias.
Ozymandias.
Yes.
I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, Ozymandias. Yeah, Mother May I. Very similar in being this character that it's looking down upon it all, in control of it, is spouting, having sort of a higher mission to achieve for the good of everyone.
For the mutants, right?
What's that?
For the mutants.
Yes.
It's kind of the mutant messiah who also seems to be the head of some huge corporation. It's kind of
Yes.
a theme here with the West Coast guys. I always
Oh, and she even has an Egyptian look.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. I always felt that she had an Egyptian look, just not an Egyptian color scheme, which I thought was interesting, that kind of contrast.
Uh-huh.
Like this is the kind of the money shot of her. I always liked her design, and kind of wish that in a way she would have become more than she was. She kind of, if I'm not mistaken, she dies by the end of the miniseries, right?
Uh,
Right?
no, no,
She
I
doesn't.
flipped through it. I think she's still going by the end of the miniseries, but maybe it happens later. It's been a while.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't remember seeing much of her past the miniseries, and I don't know whether or not that's for the fact that she wasn't developed enough as a character, her motivations, whatever. But just the sheer design of the character, I think, is cool, and just not, I think we talked about in past episodes the kind of strife apocalypse kind of 90s villain with the
Mhm.
huge armor and the cape and everything. Um, I still think her look is fairly not over the top, somewhat
Yeah, yeah.
distinguished and could almost become a classic visually. There's always something about her visual that I thought worked really well.
Yeah, it is too bad that she doesn't have obvious mutants working for her. Like if the person that was her assistant was also visually a mutant, and then when like this secretary figure pops in, if they were a mutant, so that like, oh yeah, this is the mutants company.
That's it. Yeah.
I think that would have been a good story detail. We do see that her assistant seems to be playing two sides because he gets this call from another guy and is who he's working with to help capture Velocity.
So, yeah, the shadowy figure who we don't know his identity
Mhm.
yet, and just the extra bit of cast shadow on the face here to make him look, very suspicious and mean,
Yes.
right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's good storytelling in that, it's making things obvious. You're not wondering what's going on. It's pretty obvious. Who's the villain in Doctor Gadget? Doctor.
Oh, Inspector Gadget, and that was Dr. Claw, who was
Okay,
always in
Inspector.
shadow.
So basically, he got his story idea from that Doctor Claw kind of concept, right?
Yeah. And this is a good point out of the shadows on the face. That always gives the feeling of somebody being up to something, being
Sure.
this can't trust.
Two-faced, right? There's shadow on half his face and not the other. It's a comics trope that works well. Sometimes can be applied more subtly than here, maybe, but I get why he did it.
Hmm.
And now we have a flashback sequence. How do we know that? Broken up border and different color palette, pretty much all around. Very light,
Yeah.
more
And it
pastel
says
colors, maybe.
far away long ago.
Well, that certainly helps. I'm
Yeah.
talking visually. It's
But the
always
visual,
important
yeah.
to
The panels make
differentiate that
yeah.
sequence somehow visually, right? Whether it's here, they use two tools, right? They use the broken border and kind of the
Mhm.
monochromatic light color. You could have done one or the other, and that might have worked, but both together work really well here. I even feel like the art style again shifts just a little bit. It's a little bit rougher, in the inking on the
Uh,
ground here and on the figure of the mother. Almost gives it a kind of dreamlike appearance.
mhm. Um, Also, having several of the characters in shadow, having it where like her mother figure that she has, she doesn't even really remember what she looks like. So like that would suggest she was separated from her mom pretty early on. She remembers having a mother, but doesn't remember what said mom looks like. So in this dream sequence, it's a bit of a blank slate. Um, we do get to see the face of the sister, though. They even though it starts in more of a silhouette fashion, we do see the face, and you could kind of see the connection to Ballistic.
That would be here. I'm sure we're meant to assume there's a bit of a resemblance there between Ballistic and this young girl here.
Hmm.
But again, whether or not you pick up on it right away maybe doesn't matter so much, right? But I think they've done everything here to kind of make it obvious, or at least lead you to question whether or not that's what's going on.
Hmm.
I like
Yeah,
I
that
like
little
I like
sequence.
this the layout too of how the panels are broken down in this kind of direction works really
Uh-huh.
well. The kind of overlapping, angular panels, really like that. Good
Mhm.
use of negative space.
And they're shutting the door on a bad memory from childhood.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, very symbolic. And again, the only pages where they use so much negative space again is in this kind of
Hmm.
memory, almost dream sequence. So again, another little element to differentiate it from the rest of the narrative. And then they just save that broken border for like the transition, right? From dream
Yes.
to,
Yeah,
which is nice. Great storytelling as well. Very nice.
absolutely. Yeah, it's a lot of good visuals in this because he's had the open panel or open border panels in this. He has broken the panels. He's done
A
a
lot of
little bit of
variety.
full speed. Yeah, he's done a lot of little variations throughout the issue.
So Velocity wakes up in the X Mansion.
Right? Very much so.
This feels like Wolverine when in the first X-Men movie when he wakes up and like he's walking around and stuff.
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Someone who's in a new place that they don't know what's going on and then wakes up alone and just starts looking around and like, oh, hey, oh, you're up now. Good. Absolutely. And the caretaker of the place is building stuff, and then she gets to meet the little boy, Timmy. Which we have the great, it's a little bit too much Batman versus Superman. We're like, Martha, why did you say that name? Like Timmy. And then there's the Pit Timmy connection.
Yeah, Timmy was a popular name.
Yeah. So it's a funny coincidence. Yeah, she gets to meet the nice boy robot that she does not know, just knows it to be a boy. We get that news reporter again. And that seems to be the most popular of the news reporters, the Asian lady news reporter.
You're right, eh?
Yeah.
Uh, I'm trying to think to the other two guys. There's like the skinny blonde guy with the mustache, and then there's the chunkier older dude with the sunglasses. Feels like he would be the most fun to draw.
Maybe. The other guy was a fashion reporter though, so it makes sense he would be utilized less. But sure, the bigger guy could have been him also, but seems like the Asian lady one's the one crossing over the most.
She seems to be the most mainstream. She's working for CNN or something like that,
Uh-huh.
right? Like yeah. Maybe the chunkier guy with the sunglasses is a bit more into more of a right wing bent or something. I don't know. So next page,
Yeah.
another cool establishing shot, kind of similar to
Yeah.
when I
So
talked.
fun.
It's great. When I talked about the shot with Timmy and his radio controlled truck and
Mhm.
the Cyber Hawk in the background. This is another similar shot that I think is just amazing. The crop is perfect. You don't have to draw too much. This old trick of just showing you a snippet of the whole base, right? Which is clever when you got a deadline and you don't have a lot of time to work on a page. So this is just super effective. I love all the technology. The Silvestri tech, I guess is what we'll call it, because every artist has a kind of a different interpretation of tech. Starts with Kirby tech and then moves from there. Some are more similar to Kirby, some are less, but I do feel like Kirby really laid down the the template for, uh, technology, not just in the Marvel universe, but with artists moving on past that onto Image Comics or Bravura or anything else.
Yeah, Kirby was great with the tech and getting a technologically advanced looking building and then all these cute stuffed animal figures in the front. And it silhouettes the three figures, and we've still got the reflections on the floor. It's a lot of great details.
Yeah, it's a great shot.
And they meet the cartoony cat and like how cool that you've built this stuff and you're a good big brother. And they're like, oh, I'm not, I'm not his big brother. Oh, is he adopted? No, I built him. Oh, it's not just the little animatronic stuffed animals that are built. Timmy here is built too.
Makes sense in a book like Cyberforce, right? That we've got some cyborgs lying around here and there. It's just you don't expect a kid cyborg, not just yet, anyways.
Yeah.
After having met the kick-ass mutant team of cyber enhanced beings. So of course, something happens. There's some action going on. So
Again, it's very extinction agenda. When the X Mansion got attacked, and it happens real suddenly, and a big explosion, and some figures end up out on the lawn and get grabbed real quick. It's very reminiscent to me of that scene, um, just without the build-up and the connection to all the characters.
well, that's it, right? The X-Men have years and years of backstory. You know the characters, you know their personalities. I mean, we can know a little bit about our characters here in this first issue, but not that much, right? As we've talked about, generally, these image number ones aren't putting that much time and effort into characterization, right? They're
Mhm.
just, overall trying to get something out there that's eye-catching and cool. And I feel like if everything goes right and it catches on, then we'll see where we're going. There's a little bit of that feeling to Cyberforce as well.
But the destruction, there's the a moment facial shot before it happens. There's explanation of what's about to happen, explosion, the rubble, person crawling out of the rubble. All of that stuff tells a story very well visually.
Yeah, because I mean, you're having to draw just a lot of, other than the shot here, and this one here, it's very abstract, right? You're drawing an explosion, just a bunch of black shapes and lines. Even the rubble here, it's a certain levels and abstraction as well. So Mark Silvestri doing a great job. Again, very reminiscent of that stuff he was doing on Kenny X-Men and Wolverine down here, the textures. And then boom, our last page.
This last page, oh, it's such a cool splash page. And the one thing that it also reminds me of a team of bad guys from the Justice League. And
Okay.
I'm forgetting what they were called. They were from like another universe where their planet. I forget their name at the moment. Sorry to bring them up even then. But this is such a cool looking team. This team is so much cooler looking than the good guys.
I was gonna say, yeah, they're cooler looking than Cyberforce for sure.
And you've got a lot of the same. I mean, you've got this cyborg girl, and instead of a half mask, it's a skull. Way cooler looking than Cyblade. Their energy blasting guy has a cooler costume than Cyberforce's energy blasting guy. The big guy in the background was sort of his instead of three arms has an arm that divides three ways at the elbow into blades. So much cooler looking than Impact. Just and the energy guy, it's the way I visually interpret it is he looks like an energy guy with rods coming out, like energy rods, which is not actually the case, but how cool would that be if it was? Because it's a visually just awesome looking. I wish these were the good guys. I wish this was Cyberforce.
Well, I listen, I completely agree with you. That just these designs are just more memorable than the Cyberforce stuff. Maybe, Ripclaw is memorable to a certain
Yeah,
extent, but in the sense that you do know he's a Wolverine analog for sure, right?
yeah.
These guys here to me have a little bit more of a distinct personality. Already just this first shot of them, they exude more personality than any of the characters we've met in Cyberforce. The girl with the skull face is Killjoy her name? Is that
Yes.
yeah. So like that design I think is great, almost classic, simple enough to not just be kind of pinned down to the 90s. you know,
Mhm.
and if that character had been developed more, maybe it would have stuck around. But just, I think that's a great design. You're absolutely right that their heat throwing power guy, his costume is just 100 times more interesting than Heatwave. Heatwave just looks like Spartan and kind of looks like Cyclops. Like he's that kind of prototypical,
Yeah.
like that '90s mask with the hair out guy. You know what I mean? Like who's kind of the stoic team leader. Um, don't know if Heatwave is necessarily meant to be the team leader. Maybe it's, but I get that sense it's between him and Stryker. Maybe.
Yeah.
So Ballistic again, to me she almost stands out a little bit here because her design is maybe a bit more in tune with actually being on Cyberforce, even though
Yeah.
she's not yet. Right, she's got more there kind of thing where the other guys I feel are more coherent together maybe somehow without her. The power guy, the emanation guy, I always kind of saw it as almost like a power mohawk coming out of half of his body,
Oh.
and he's just
Uh-huh.
it's just constantly kind of flowing out of him. He can't even keep it in, which is a cool, nice little twist on that kind of character and the visual of him too. Right? It's almost like a demon-esque Human Torch or something. And
Another,
go ahead.
okay, like just the visual excitement of these guys, and this is in one page. We
Yeah,
don't see it
yeah,
anywhere else in the
absolutely.
comic book. And if you had these clean-cut looking groups who were attacking mutants, and then these were the good guys coming into the scenes, making an impact, looking so different than the people they're fighting.
Well, they're almost really they're kind of monsters, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They're they've been cybernetically enhanced, which can also be mutilated, right? In a way, I guess, right? To a certain extent. So they're definitely more horrific looking than Cyberforce, I think. Yeah.
because like, can you picture if you just put him into the scenes, if the big guy with the blades, if he was the guy who came down that alleyway at the
And,
van,
and chopped it in half or something.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah, yeah.
multiple blades coming down and just it was not even in halves because now it's chopped it into halves, fourths, eighths.
Three blades, one, two, three, four, like five slices or something. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it ends up being five pieces from the blades. I mean, that would have, can you imagine that instead, where it's just like, wrong, and these pieces of van flying off?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, no.
That guy runs out of the main room into the stairwell, and it's Killjoy waiting for him,
Yeah,
looking much
exactly.
more terrifying.
Much more impact as well. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it would just be visually so cool. And this other energy guy, if he's flying in instead of now I'm forgetting his name, but the
Heat wave.
yeah, Heat Wave flying in instead of Heat Wave, just every step of the way where it's like you have your more clean cut people that are within the bigger organizations and here are the saviors, but these saviors are, well, they don't look clean cut. They are messed up and mutilated.
They're a little freakish. Yeah. And if
Yeah.
you're again, like if you were cybernetically enhanced, most times it's probably to replace limbs and things like that. So there's that aspect to it that could be interesting. I think we can just agree that these characters introduced on the very last page, their designs, the composition of the page, the power and the energy that kind of comes off of it is just 100 times more evocative than the regular Cyberforce characters. Kind of sucks to say, but yeah, even as a kid, I kind of felt that, right? Just better designs, I think, and again, just what they evoke already in us could have led maybe to a more fun book than Cyberforce actually was. Not that it was horrible in any way,
No.
but I don't think it's one of the strongest image titles.
Yeah, and they definitely would have stood out more. And then
Yeah,
the crossover possibilities, like Savage Dragon meets these guys, he's going to think they're part of
the vicious circle.
yeah, he's going to think that they're part of that, and they're like, oh no, we're actually the good guys just because we look like this. We're
Yeah, because I don't think that idea, that concept of the hero who looks like the bad guy had yet kind of become a popular thing. It probably did later on in the '90s, right? As the anti-hero kind of movement, evil, was it Evil Eddie or that guy who was
oh yeah,
that kind of whole vibe, right?
Evil Ernie.
Faust to a certain extent, even though that was already out.
Yeah, and then that would have made this group the outsider group, which if you were as a kid an outsider, it would make this more your comic.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this would make a great bootleg comic.
Oh.
I've already got ideas now with just talking
Yeah.
about these characters right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, I guess CyberForce #1. The villains are cooler than the heroes.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's where the PDF ends. I'm just going to take a quick look at the end of the actual issue because sometimes there's interesting ads and stuff. But no, just
There was
a
a
little
little letter
message.
from Mark Silvestri to fans,
Yeah,
letting you know kind of from his angle what's going on. We got a little rock the vote ad. Funnily enough, X-Men, well, Wizard 14 with the X-Men, all the X-Babes.
that
Oh,
was one of
very
my.
wacky.
That
Really,
was my.
the Wizard Guide to Comics issue 14 that was going to have X-Men art T-Bear interviewed, Cyberforce trading cards by Mark Silvestri, and latest news from Image, but with a picture of the X-Babes.
Yeah, I remember that. Art T-Bear did the cover, and that was my second issue of Wizard. The first one being number 12 with the Wildcats on it.
Okay, I think the Rob Liefeld one was the first one I got. I was just like, oh, Rob's in it? Okay, I gotta grab that.
You were just a little bit earlier than I was. Yeah, yeah. I remember that. It's when I discovered comic shops existed. I went to the comic shop. I remember I told you that story near my house. It was so
Yeah.
close too. And I bought Spawn #2 and that Wizard. I just saw the Jim Lee art. It's the first time I saw Jim Lee doing anything other than X-Men. So I was like,
Mhm.
oh my God, we got to get this. And that's how I found out about Image Comics. All right. Well, I think that's a good spot to stop this video to end it all. Mark, before we go, is there anything you're doing coming up? Any shows, any gigs you want to let us know about?
Oh yeah, so this weekend I'm doing crowd work for the first time, so I'm getting kind of psyched up. That's a new comedic skill. I've been working doing prompt mics to develop the skill, and I did crowd work kind of for the first time last night as a practice run up for 5-7 minutes. So this weekend it's going to be 20 minutes. So we're going to
Cool,
see
man.
how it goes.
Well, listen, we're going to wish you good luck with that. And I'm going to go into the preamble and we're going to shut this guy down. So, everyone out there who is subscribed to the channel and is still watching, thank you so much. I really do appreciate you still being there. Check us out next week. We're going to be looking a little bit into the history of Wetworks. Check us out next Wednesday for that. And if you are not subscribed and you are watching, well, just please subscribe below. It only takes a quick second for you. It really helps out the channel, helps us grow, and it helps us get out there to other people who are into comic books just like we are. So, Mark, one last time, thanks again. Really do appreciate it and have a lot of fun when we do this. And if you can see us out, everyone out there, have an awesome day.
All right, everybody, thanks for playing it. And hit your dollar bins. You can get fun, visually awesome comics for just $1.
That's right. All right, take it easy, guys. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah, absolutely. See you, Max.
King Comics presents Big Baby, Volume 1, Issues 1 to 13, 204 pages of story and art. King Comics also presents Star Crasher one-shot, 32 pages, cosmic sci-fi surrealist adventure. You can find these fine comics at KingComics.CA, at MaximusRex13 on Instagram, or on Facebook, MaxRex or Big Baby.
Like! Subscribe!